What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Movie Emporium's movie review of Elvis, the newest film from director Baz Luhrmann. So Baz Luhrmann is back. He is doing another film, another epic 2 hour and 39 to 2 hour and 40-minute movie. It is about Elvis Presley and kind of his life from, at a early age when he became like really enthralled with the blues and jazz and stuff like that until the point where Colonel Tom Parker, who of course is the guy who manipulated Elvis and kind of abused him in a lot of ways, and he's of course played by Tom Hanks, and of course Elvis Presley is played by Austin Butler. And it's basically a epic, very long movie about, Elvis Presley's life up to the point where he eventually died, and how not only he became influential, but how he changed the course of music for the better in a lot of aspects because of the whole racism aspect, because of the whole nature of how the world was looking with politics and, everything that you can imagine. So this is a basically 2 hour and 40-minute look at Elvis Presley's life in a Baz Luhrmann film, is the easiest way to put it. So, Baz Luhrmann, to be fairly honest, is a very unique director. He's a director that is known for like his chaotic filmmaking. He's a very eccentric director. He's an interesting person because the way he shoots his films, the way he cuts his films with his editors and his cinematographers, the way he has his actors portray the characters they're portraying in his movies, they're just very kind of what you would call very hyper focused, I guess you could say. They are fast paced. They are, there's never a one shot that kind of stands for the most of the movie. There may be one shot that where it may be a couple minutes long, but for the most part, it's moving. There is never time to breathe, and that's a very what you would call different way of filmmaking, because a lot of filmmakers, maybe even like Steven Spielberg and Alfred Hitchcock, or any of the directors working today, Christopher Nolan, they are known for having settling shots where they just kind of focus on the characters. But here, when it comes to a Baz Luhrmann film, especially if you watch something like Moulin Rouge or Great Gatsby, the characters are so kind of chaotic and just moving so quickly that you actually kind of get exhausted watching his films. And that's not necessarily to say it's a bad thing, because Moulin Rouge is a very special film, and I actually do love Great Gatsby. But to take a character or an individual like Elvis, and to take an individual like Tom Parker, and to put them into this sphere that is Baz Luhrmann, that makes it, for one, a very interesting take, and two, it's going to be very different than a typical biopic when it comes to the real life individuals. So I went into this movie knowing that because it's 2 hours and 40 minutes and it's Baz Luhrmann, that I'm going to come out pretty exhausted when I come out of this movie. I'm going to be very just kind of maybe I have to think about this a little bit, see how it works out. And I will say this for my review of this film: I think Austin Butler is a star in the making. He's absolutely fantastic in this movie as Elvis. This is an Oscar-worthy performance. It's a performance that is just, you really get a sense of this character going from like how much he became a truly iconic individual to becoming a legend as he passed away, but just kind of seeing how the manipulation, and his father, who's played by Baz Luhrmann regular Richard Roxburgh, I think is his name. You see how like kind of the world around him starts to spiral out of control when the grips of Tom Parker starts to fully envelop into this world as kind of this black shadow that kind of, as everybody, his people that he worked with and the people that he, was known for being with, like, especially like Priscilla Presley, they start to see that this individual is just, that is Elvis Presley, is starting to lose control of who he is and what makes him special. And yes, he had his big comeback in Vegas and stuff like that, but the dark nature of who Elvis Presley was is the main focus of this movie, which is really interesting because a lot of people know Elvis Presley, a lot of people know what happened to Elvis Presley, but if you don't know, this is actually a very eye-opening experience, because Tom Parker, Colonel Tom Parker as he was known, was a schemer. He was a manipulator, he was an abuser, and it is on full display on here. And there are points in this movie where Tom Hanks completely envelops his character and does a lot of narration, and he's trying to make you feel sorry for him, trying to blame Elvis for the whole situation. But there's a lot of manipulation in Tom Parker's character as an individual in real life, that you really get a sense that there's something kind of at odds and something weird and something unfocused about the way this story is being played out, and that's done on purpose. It's to make you feel like there's a false sense of security, and when it starts to kind of fall under collapse of like how much he's gone and kind of manipulated the situation, it's really an interesting way to tell the story, and it's really fascinating. It takes no qualms about, you know, Elvis made mistakes, he paid for the mistakes, and Tom Parker also abused those mistakes, and you see it with his family, and you see how the claws of Tom Parker was involved with like Priscilla and, you know, his father and stuff like that, and the people that were like, you know, working with him and stuff like that, working with Elvis and his kind of, you know, specials and his career and stuff like that. It's really interesting. And I give a lot of credit for Tom Hanks doing this role because it's a very different role for him. He's actually not really known for doing like very sinister characters. He's more of like your grandfather at this point, or your father, like the one you truly love and stuff like that, the one that's very special. And to watch him to take on this character and just completely kind of just envelop the character, it's really fascinating. It's probably going to get him an Oscar nomination for just how different it is for what Tom Hanks is doing. But with that said, I said it in my tweet, and I mean this. This is like the sweatiest film you'll ever watch, to be fairly honest. There's a lot of, you know, dirtiness to it. There's a lot of darkness to it. There's a lot of uncomfortable nature to it. You know, the fact that Elvis Presley sweats a lot in this movie is, you know, why I say it's also very sweaty. It's also, you know, whether you want to realize it or not, it's a very horny film because of the way Elvis Presley was gyrating with his hips and stuff like that. There's a lot of interesting, fun moments in this movie where you kind of laugh because you see how like the girls get like, ooh, you know, get super excited when they see what Elvis Presley's doing. It made a lot of people laugh. There's a lot of people that, you know, went along with it. But it's also a very beautiful movie. It's a very chaotic movie. There are some cool, very Baz Luhrmann shots. He is definitely doing what he's known for doing, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like his other films, his last few films. They're very in depth and they're very long, and they do outstay their welcome quite close to the end, about half hour before the movie ends. But I can't take away from the movie's fun. It's very thin in plot. You know Elvis Presley, you know what he's known for. Like I said, Austin Butler is fantastic. This is a kid or young man who deserves everything that's coming towards him as an actor. Tom Hanks is just Tom Hanks, and like there's some people that you'll see in this movie that you recognize, like Luke Bracey and stuff like that. And you know, overall, it's not his best movie. It's not Baz Luhrmann's best movie, but it is a movie that really, I think, it's down to the focus of what was the flaws of Elvis Presley himself. The way it focuses on the shots that they use in this movie are really get into the mindset of how chaotic his life really was as a performer and an actor and a military person, stuff like that. It doesn't focus too long on some things, and there are some characters that get a little short shrift and are very silhouette in their nature where you don't really get a lot of stuff out of it. But in the end, it's really just about the focus of what Tom Parker did and what, of course, Elvis did as a musician and how he changed the world. So in the end, I do recommend this movie, especially if you're a huge Baz Luhrmann fan. I think you'll really dig this movie. If you're not, you may not like this movie because it is very Baz Luhrmann in its nature. But I think if you want a good portrait of Elvis, you want a different portrait of Elvis, a very fast-paced, very chaotic, you know, a little bit exhausting portrait of Elvis, I think this movie's for you. So anyways, with that said, that is my take on Elvis. Thank you so much for watching. Comments below, are you looking forward to this movie? What is your favorite Elvis song? What is your favorite Baz Luhrmann movie? Anything you want to say, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, if you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.